This is Visitor's Book, and I'm Maija, your host. In this program, I'm going to be meeting with diplomats and foreigners who are here in Pakistan, and I'm going to find out what they really think about the country. Let's go. So our guest today is the Sri Lankan High Commissioner Noordeen Mohamed Shaheid, and we've reached his office, so let's go see him. Hello.
Hi. Most welcome to the territory of Sri Lanka and High Commissioner.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, how long has it been for you now here in Islamabad?
It's almost 10 months.
Okay.
I was appointed as High Commissioner in October.
Okay. Wow. So not even a year yet.
Getting close to 1 year.
Yeah, great. So how have you liked it so far here?
I really like it. Perhaps I'm not a career diplomat. And I was selected from civil society by His Excellency the President of Sri Lanka.
Oh, I see.
I'm basically a lawyer by profession. I have been practicing law for about 3 decades.
Wow.
And it so happened that I was chosen by the President to represent Sri Lanka. One of the reasons for selecting a person from civil society was to give an opportunity to a minority. I, being a Muslim, belong to a minority community in Sri Lanka, and we are 10% in the whole population. We have about 22 million people in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And 2 million of them are Muslims, so they're 10%. So he wanted to see a minority is represented in Pakistan, since Pakistan is predominantly a Muslim country.
So it was a conscious choice.
And on the other hand, perhaps he also wanted to see a change, because Sri Lanka has been represented by retired armed forces and generals for more than 3 or 4 decades, for the simple reason that Sri Lanka underwent a terrific war. So when we take those circumstances into consideration.
So what about Pakistan? I mean, Sri Lanka and Pakistan are obviously both South Asian countries. They share a lot of history, some cultural similarities as well. Was it easy for you to kind of get used to the country when you first came here?
Well, Pakistan and Sri Lanka are countries which have a long historical bond. Perhaps it dates back to more than 2,000 years. The more I looked at it, and I find that it is more than even 2,000 years. It starts from Gandhara civilization. And Emperor Ashoka, who brought Buddhism to Sri Lanka and had played a pivotal role in establishing the Taxila University, which stands tall in the Buddhist history.
Yeah.
So Sri Lanka basically a Buddhist country, where 72% of the people are Buddhists, and they are really practicing Buddhists. Perhaps if you look at so many Buddhist countries in the world, but if you see, Sri Lanka is totally different, because their life is interwoven and intermingled with their religious practices. Maitri, we call it love, and that is the key word as far as the Sri Lankan culture is concerned. So the Sri Lankan people, their culture is very simple, based on hospitality and love.
Yeah.
So that is what many people say. Many people who go from various parts of the world to Sri Lanka, they always praise the hospitality of Sri Lankans.
That's true,
anyone and everyone, whether he is known or unknown or a stranger, they always welcome you with a smile.
Yeah, I think that's something very South Asian, because that's what you hear people say about Pakistanis as well, right?
I find some similarities in Pakistan as well, but sometimes perhaps if I compare the kind of hospitality that I receive in Pakistan, and I don't consider their hospitality anything less. They are also equally good in entertaining people, in receiving people, in welcoming people, and in looking after.
So yeah, a long shared history right there. But what about the relationship between the two countries right now? How is that?
Sri Lanka and Pakistan enjoy a very close and cordial relationship. You know, Sri Lanka and Pakistan gained independence around the same time. In 1948, Sri Lanka gained independence, and Pakistan gained independence in 1947. Just after 6 months, Sri Lanka gained independence. And Sri Lanka was one of the first countries to establish diplomatic relationship with Pakistan.
Oh, yeah.
And soon after the independence, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Mr. D.S. Sen Nayak, visited Pakistan. He was one of those leaders made a state visit to Pakistan soon after independence. So Sri Lanka and Pakistan are now enjoying about 70 years of diplomatic relationship.
Wow, that's a long time.
During this period, a lot of wonderful things have happened. And there have been, I think in the Southeast Asian countries, if there are two countries which are more closer to each other, you can say Sri Lanka and Pakistan. During the last 7 decades, many officials and state visits have been made by the leaders of both countries. In 2015, I can remember Sri Lankan president visited after he assumed duties as president. Within a period of 3 months, it was one of his first visits to Pakistan.
Okay.
And he came last year, I suppose in 2018, as the state guest to take part in the Independence Day celebrations in Pakistan. So our current president has made 2 visits to Pakistan. And likewise, the past leaders of Pakistan, the President Mr. Asif Ali Zardari and Mr. Nawaz Sharif, they have visited from 2010 to 2015, but they have made visits to Sri Lanka. Yeah. And a lot of bilateral issues were discussed, and I think more than 8 bilateral agreements and MOUs have signed between the both countries during the 30-year Sri Lankan war on terror, war against terror. And during that period, the Pakistan provided a lot of military support to fight the war, and a lot of training. A lot of Sri Lankan forces were trained in Pakistan and supplied arms and ammunition and rendered yeoman support to see that Sri Lanka is getting out of the terror. And it happened. And the Sri Lankan historians still remember, or they write, that without the support of Pakistan, Sri Lanka could not have eradicated terrorism from its soil.
That's excellent. So what is Sri Lanka focusing on now here in Pakistan, like your embassy specifically?
Well, we have a lot of engagements between Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Bilateral relationship, we have defense cooperation between the two countries, and Sri Lankan forces from all segments, I mean Air Force, Army, Navy, they are regularly being trained in Sri Lanka. That's a great assistance that Sri Lanka, Pakistan is giving to Sri Lanka. On the other hand, we also have a bilateral trade.
Yeah. And
but the bilateral trade was not as expected because potentially, our trade deficit was not that high. Maybe because Sri Lanka went through a war, and then the representatives who were in Pakistan could not do much in the trade sector because they had to concentrate more on war at that time.
Yeah.
So now I think I have come after war, and now the things are very much better, and Sri Lanka is enjoying peace and stability in the country, and a lot of person-to-person, to people-to-people connectivity have been established between Pakistan and Sri Lanka. And Pakistan used to have single country exhibition annually in Sri Lanka, which was attended by thousands and thousands of people. and they found a huge market for Pakistani products.
Such
Such as garments and auto spare parts and pharmaceutical items and cement and various items. Okay. So now the time has come for me to identify the areas where we could collaborate more.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Pakistan is the second largest trading partner of Sri Lanka at the moment.
And especially I think that I need to promote tea in Pakistan because Pakistan is a country with a large amount of consumers of tea.
Absolutely.
And it is part of their culture. And I mean, 95% of the people drink tea, I suppose.
Yes.
So Sri Lanka is one of the countries which produces the best tea. But for some reasons or the other, we could not penetrate very much into the market. Because in 1980, perhaps, when you look at the statistics, we have enjoyed about 20 to 25% market in Pakistan. But later it gradually declined. Now I think that the time has come to reintroduce Sri Lankan tea.
So, despite having suffered from a long civil war and conflict, Sri Lanka has done quite well economically. I mean, it is, I think, the second most developed country in South Asia. How has that happened?
Well, Sri Lanka was able to come out of this war on terror, and concentrated more in its developmental activities. It is a country full of resources.
Yeah.
And the tourism was in the hike at all times, even during the time of conflict. The tourists kept on coming to Sri Lanka. So the Sri Lanka knew that its potential in relation to tourism. And furthermore, it's basically an agricultural country. And it had a lot of potential of employment. So the Sri Lanka was immediately after the war planning to diversify its activities towards industries and other trading engagements.
Sri Lanka also has a very impressive literacy rate. It's something like 92%, is that correct?
Yes, that is because of free education. I'm proud to say I'm also a product of a free education.
Yeah.
From kindergarten to the university degree, education is free. And I think in 1960 when UN perhaps proclaimed free education to the masses, in about 20 years before, a great visionary leader, person called C.W.W. Kannangara, when he was Minister of Education, he introduced free education in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And that has been kept on alive by pumping more money into the education sector by all successive governments. Today, textbooks are given free, school uniforms are given free, and children's health care is taken care of by the government.
Wow.
And they are in some parts of the country where there is lack of nutrition. If they had found out in that area, if any child is suffering from lack of nutrition, milk to supplement their energy is given.
Yeah, so what do you think Pakistan can learn from Sri Lanka's experience?
Well, Pakistan is a country with a huge population.
Yeah.
220 million population. I think Pakistan has got a visionary leader now. I think I have listened to the current Prime Minister's speeches, and he is intending to introduce free education to Pakistan. So I don't think that perhaps that kind of vision the earlier leaders had. Perhaps if they had, perhaps they would have simply introduced. But I addressed a meeting in Lahore organized by one of the universities where I was asked to address on free education and the best practice and what the Pakistan can learn from the best practices from Sri Lanka.
Great. Time to take a short break. See you in a bit. welcome back. It's time to continue our conversation with the Sri Lankan High Commissioner here. So Sri Lanka is a very diverse country, like Pakistan as well. There's many different communities and religions, and you yourself are from the Muslim community. So what is the history of Muslims in Sri Lanka?
Unity in diversity is the main important thing in Sri Lankan culture.
Yeah.
Because although the country is small and we have a small population, about 22 million, we have Muslims, we have Buddhists, we have Christians, we have Hindus, and we have Tamil-speaking people, English-speaking people, Malay-speaking people, and different cultures and different religions are practiced freely and fairly. Yeah. And the government has provided for the religious practices without any hindrance. If I may quote, we have a Minister for Buddhist Affairs, we have a Minister for Muslim Affairs, we have a Minister for Hindu Cultural Affairs, and also we have a Minister for Christian Affairs.
Okay.
So the country has concentrated on religious practices because all religion teaches good things.
Excellent. So when did the first Muslims arrive in the country?
Well, if the history is going back to more than 2,000 years, because the Arab traders have visited Sri Lanka during the period of Sinhala kings.
Okay.
And the history denotes that Sri Lankan Muslims are a combination of Arab fathers and Sinhalese mothers.
And you mentioned that Sufism also played a very important role in Sri Lanka's history, or like there are Sufi shrines in the country that most people would not expect, right?
Well, the Muslims in Sri Lanka are traditional Muslims. We have been following traditional practices of our forefathers. So we have a lot of shrines in many parts of the country.
Yeah.
And we are known as Sunni Muslims. And we follow the traditional practices that have been hitherto followed by our forefathers.
Okay. So recently the Muslims have faced some difficulties in the country. Do you think things are going to perhaps be getting worse in the country, or like how do you think tolerance could be maintained in a diverse country such as Sri Lanka?
Well, Sri Lanka is a country which went through a long war on terror, but for 10 years we had a absolute peace in the country. From 2009 until this incident took place, there was not even a blast of bomb, in Sri Lanka. So the younger generation perhaps would have been about 6 or 7 years or younger than that age. They wouldn't have seen this kind of huge multiple years city of bomb blast.
Yeah.
So these bomb blasts have been, well planned, I must say. It cannot happen without any foreign involvement, but there should be some external resources and funding could have entered into this blast. So still the investigations are going on in the country.
And obviously Pakistan is also a country that has had some problems, in terms of the religious minorities. What do you think could be done to promote more tolerance and coexistence between different religions and cultures in both countries maybe?
Zero tolerance cannot be expected from any country, because the people are like soda bottles. Sometimes when you are really pushed, perhaps they blast, they outburst. So sometimes it is very nasty and very dangerous. So Pakistan, I was able to read a judgment delivered by the Supreme Court where that judgment has given full freedom to the minority communities in the country. And I can see the Christian churches are functioning very well. I don't see any Hindu community here, but I see Sri Lankan, there is a good number of Christian churches and Christian religious practitioners. I mean, my mission, I have about 8 persons from Christian community. That Pakistan is a country which respect other religion. That I can see from Taxila Museum and Dharmarajika, the Buddhist heritage. What a lot of Buddhist stupas and artifacts and statues that are being found in those areas. Not only in Taxila, perhaps if you go to Peshawar, you get about 2 museums full of Buddhist statues and artifacts. All these have been preserved without any problem. But that shows how much Pakistan respects other religion, for the simple reason that they don't have a Buddhist population at all in this country. There is no reason, because it's predominantly Islamic country, there is no reason for them to protect and preserve by spending so much of state coffer. And this has to be brought to the notice of the world. I must say there is a negative perceptions about Pakistan.
Yeah.
And they do not know that there is a country which has protected and preserved 2000 years of civilization, Buddhist. No Buddhist is in this country, but they have preserved all that. So, and now the government has taken a very important step by liberalizing the visa regime and also promoting religious and cultural tourism. So now the country is open. 524 million Buddhists who are living all over the world. They can come to this country and see for themselves. I don't think that they can, even in India or any other country, they would find so much of Buddhist heritage. So I don't think anybody knows about it. When you speak about Pakistan, perhaps they know only a few things. But those things have been repeatedly projected by the international media, completely shutting out the good part of Pakistan. Yeah. I think that this government has opened up because they got a very good leader and who is internationally known, and I think that his personal popularity would bring the good side of Pakistan to the whole world.
Yeah, and so you mentioned tourism. What do you think Pakistan can learn from Sri Lanka in that respect?
Pakistan will have to focus its attention in bringing out through these international organizations the heritage, the treasure that they have about the archaeological sites, and also their beaches and mountainous beauty.
Absolutely.
Perhaps, I think the time has come for them to come out of it. But perhaps the past governments, you cannot find fault with them. But I hope this government will definitely do something about tourism, because they are very much interested, not only sightseeing tourism, but also religious and cultural tourism.
So then I wanted to talk a little bit about Pakistanis visiting Sri Lanka or Sri Lankans visiting Pakistan. Is any of that happening? Are people going for maybe studies or work? Is there anything like that?
We have a lot of relationships like that. Perhaps, Pakistan is a place which has been providing scholarships for professional degrees like medicine, engineering, and IT. They used to provide about more than 30, 40, 50 scholarships every year to Sri Lankan students. And I myself is a beneficiary of Pakistan's education scholarship program.
Oh, wow.
And 2 of my sons studied in Pakistan. And my elder son, who is an orthopedic surgeon, he's a doctor, studied at King Edward Medical College. My second son is a neurosurgeon today. He is in the States. And he studied in Allama Iqbal Medical College.
Wow.
So, and every year, Pakistan is producing not less than 15 to 20 medical professionals, in addition to other graduates from other fields. So Pakistan has been very helpful in the educational sector, especially in the higher educational sector. And the foreign minister of Pakistan is due to visit Sri Lanka. He's making a 3-day visit. There he is going to sign an agreement with Sri Lanka through which Pakistan intends to provide about 1,000 scholarships for over a period of 5 years. So each year from Sri Lanka there will be 200 students who will find accommodation or placements in the best seat of learning universities in Pakistan. I think it's time for lunch. We should do justice to our stomach, and my wife has prepared some palatable, delicious Sri Lankan food for you. So shall we go and enjoy it first and then continue the program?
Sure, sounds great. Time to take a short break. See you in a bit.
Hello.
This is my wife.
Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. Welcome back. We're here at the residence of the Sri Lankan High Commissioner and his wife. So, Mrs. Jannat, what a wonderful sari you are wearing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is it from Sri Lanka or from
Yes,
here?
it's from Sri Lanka.
So, how has the experience been for you here in Pakistan?
Mashallah, it's a very good experience because these people, Pakistan is a very hospitable and very nice people.
Yeah.
Because actually, before we came here, different people give different opinions about this Pakistan. But after we came here, we found that people are very good, very hospitable, and very nice people.
Wow, this looks delicious. So, can you tell me what all of this is?
Actually, this is boiled potatoes, which is tempered with chili flakes, yes, onions,
Wow.
and green chilies. And it goes along with this yellow rice.
Okay, excellent.
And this is another dish of Sri Lanka. This is salted dried sprats.
Wow.
Which is very famous in Sri Lanka. That also goes along with that rice, yellow rice.
Excellent.
This we call that yellow rice. That is actually this is made with you fry the sprats and with onions, temper the onions with chili flakes and all that, and mix it. That's all.
Wow.
And we add a little lemon.
Wow. And then this is dal?
Dal curry.
Okay, excellent.
Oh yes, and this is chili. This is chicken.
Okay, excellent. So, shall we try some?
Yes.
Amazing. I love it. And what about Muslims in Sri Lanka? I mean, most Muslims in South Asian countries eat a lot of meat, like kebabs and all that stuff. Is it so in Sri Lanka as well?
Yes.
Sri Lanka, we of course we eat meat, but mostly the Buddhist community, they don't eat cow meat.
Yeah.
Rather beef.
Beef.
Exactly.
They avoid beef.
Yeah.
And chicken is a bit cheap. I mean, price-wise, whereas mutton is very expensive.
Okay.
So most of the people like to eat fish, and it is a general belief that eating fish is good for health.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of oceanic resources.
That's amazing.
So we have both. We have got sea fish. Also, we have lake fish.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how is that usually prepared in Sri Lanka? Is it like fish curries, or do you make like some kind of a barbecue?
There are different ways of preparation because normally south of Sri Lanka, and they have plain fishes available in plenty. So what they used to do is they preserve it also. That is, you can preserve the fish when cooking, because we have some kind of like tamarind. You get another kind of the ingredient called goraka. So they grind that along with pepper, little chilies, salt. They mix all the fish. They cut the fish and they keep it on these clay pots on slow fire. So that we can, without refrigerating, you can keep it out For about 1 week or so, you can just keep it. Yes,
Wow.
and it's very tasty.
Yeah.
The more it gets older, the more it's tasty.
Yeah, wow. Amazing. Maybe you should start a Sri Lankan restaurant here or bring somebody. Yeah. Amazing. So where in Sri Lanka are both of you from, actually?
Well, from North Central Province, where I was born, and so I entered the university in 1977. So from the time I came to the university was in the capital of Sri Lanka, that is Colombo. So from that time onwards, from 1977 onwards, now I've become a resident of Colombo.
Okay. And how is Colombo like compared with Islamabad?
Compare with Islamabad, is a huge city and well-planned city, but Colombo is not like that. Colombo is a natural city, you know,
Yeah.
with a natural harbor on one side and a lot of buildings on the other side. Now the development phase is very rapid after the conflict ended. A lot of high-rise buildings have come up now.
Yeah.
A lot of hotels have come up because most of the foreign investors expected a lot of influx of tourists into the country. So we have got enough high-rise 5-star hotels now in Sri Lanka.
Oh wow, that sounds
Colombo, right?
amazing. Yeah, and you are from Colombo. You
Yes.
mentioned, yeah. So how? I mean, Islamabad has all these mountains here, and that must be quite different from what you see. in
Yeah,
Colombo,
that is a very busy city. Colombo is the capital of Sri Lanka, so it's all busy.
Yeah.
And we don't have wider roads like this, like you
Oh,
have it
really?
here.
Yeah.
We have a little narrow roads, so I mean, it's always congested.
So
Lot of
you
traffic,
find a
yes.
little bit of peace here in
Yes.
Islamabad.
Yes.
Great.
And here you get a lot of greeneries.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't get much. You
Oh,
have,
okay.
but limited. Because
Okay.
now as the population increases, the more buildings are coming up, more high-rise buildings,
Of
more
course.
population is more. in
Yeah.
Colombo.
But that's only in the city. But the more you go out, the more you
Yes.
get more greener.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
in
it's
city of
there.
Colombo, I'm saying that is yes.
Absolutely. So, what about your free time here? I mean, do you even get a lot of free time in Islamabad?
Well, I told you I was a practicing lawyer before
Yes.
I became a diplomat. So I used to work about 16 to 17 hours a day. I've been
wow.
practicing mostly in the Supreme Court and Court of Appeal. So I used to work till late in the night. But when I came here, I don't think that I was so tensed up because the work is very easy. And I have picked it up very fast, I suppose, my diplomatic assignment.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot of time, but what I'm doing now is trying to establish contacts with various top and relevant authorities,
Yeah. Okay.
so that I would be able to interact with them and also establish networking with Sri Lankan counterparts,
Okay.
so that the bilateral relations could be strengthened and widened.
Yeah. And what about you, Mrs. Jannat? Do you ever go for hikes in the Margala Hills
No.
or anything like
So
that?
far we have not gone
No?
because we just came about 2 months ago.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
Okay.
my husband was here for the last 9 months.
Okay.
But I was there in Sri Lanka with my daughter. She has to finish her exam, so I had to wait with her.
Okay.
And then we came. So after this, we have to
Yeah.
visit places.
So have you managed to get out of the city yet? Have you traveled anywhere, or you've only been here in Islamabad?
No, we went to Mari and Abbottabad and that area we had
Oh,
covered.
excellent. How was
Yes.
that experience?
Yeah, mashallah, very good.
Yeah? Was it very
nice,
different?
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, great. And what about you? Have you traveled a lot in Pakistan?
Well, I have not yet started traveling inwards, but I visited some of those historical heritage sites like Taxila, and I've been to Mari, and I went to Takhbai
Okay.
to see that Buddhist stupa, and also went to Peshawar to visit those Buddhist museums because I wanted to have some first-hand information about these Buddhist heritage sites and these sculptures, etc. I have not gone far in Pakistan for the simple reason that I had to wait for my wife and daughter to come.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make 2 visits so that now they have joined.
We have gone to Lahore several times.
Yeah.
Lahore.
We can plan out our strategy to see how best we could go to the north.
Yeah.
And especially Humza and Gilgit and also Swat.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I was flown to Swat after the Balakot airstrike, and some of the diplomats were taken to Swat. So I couldn't go through the land route. So people say that if you go through the land route, you would really enjoy the landscape of the country.
Yeah.
So I will have to. I think I'm planning to do it by and by.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And I remember you mentioned that you organized some kind of an event in Taxila, is that correct?
Yes, but we organized 2 events, and we organized the Vesak.
Okay.
Vesak for Buddhists is a very important day because it is the birth and enlightenment and death or demise of Lord Buddha.
Okay.
So we celebrated in Taxila with the help of another organization which is mostly dealing with interfaith harmony in Pakistan.
Wonderful.
So that was a very interesting event because a lot of Muslims were there to celebrate for Vesak festival, and most of them were fasting because it was a month of fast.
Of course.
And then we visited and also attended to the Buddhist heritage practices in Taxila, followed by breakfast. So that gave a very good indication how interfaith harmony could be promoted in Pakistan.
So the other thing Pakistan and Sri Lanka have in common is the enthusiasm for cricket, right?
Both countries are cricket-loving nations.
Yeah.
But this opportunity I should make use of by relating an interesting story with regard to the assistance provided by Sri Pakistan again in promoting cricket in Sri Lanka in the formative years. The chairman of Pakistan Cricket Board, Mr. Abdul Hafiz Khader, he tremendously supported Sri Lanka's entry to ICC. When Sri Lanka was making its debut, when we're trying to enter ICC, there were a lot of opposition, and perhaps Australia and England, on certain occasions, they exercised their veto power to see that Sri Lanka was not up to standard and it cannot enter international cricket, and therefore the ICC status cannot be granted. But it was Mr. Abdul Hafiz Khader from Pakistan Cricket Board who fought for Sri Lanka, who really espoused the cause of Sri Lanka to see that Sri Lanka should be given status and Sri Lanka should not be disregarded just because it's a South Asian country. And true to his dream, Sri Lanka won the World Cup in 1996 in Pakistan.
Yes.
And Mr. Abdul Hafiz Khader was able to witness that match, and he died in 1997, 1 year after. I would like to tell you a story. That recently I went to stitch a suit, and a friend of mine told me that that's a good tailoring mart, and you can go and get a suit stitched. I went and the owner was there. I hope he was the owner. And I wanted a suit the way that I want. And he started speaking to me, and my chauffeur told him that he's the High Commissioner or whatever. He was very pleased. He said that he went for holidays last month to Switzerland.
Okay.
And he said he met so many Sri Lankans, and most of them invited him for lunch and dinner. He couldn't refuse to a few, and he went and had lunch with them. He said, the Sri Lankans do not know that who I am, but they only knew that I'm from Pakistan. So they were so kind, and most of them were inviting me. So, sir, one suit on your account, and I will stitch another suit on my account.
Oh, that's so nice.
So that is the kind of relationship. And also I must say that once there was a gentleman who came to Pakistan to attend a conference. He called for a taxi and he got into the taxi, and while the vehicle was moving, he was talking to the chauffeur, and the chauffeur had asked him, from where are you? He said, from Sri Lanka. Then he started talking about cricket, and he asked about Arjuna Ranatunga and all the top Sri Lankan cricketers. So the Sri Lankan was amazed that a chauffeur in Pakistan knows about Sri Lankan cricket.
Yeah.
And then when his destination came, he wanted to get off, and then he wanted to pay his taxi fare. He said, not from you, sir. So that's a kind of spiritual relationship that Sri Lanka and Pakistan have.
So it's time for our next segment, which is the rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Ready?
Okay, let's start. So, shalwar kameez or sarong?
Sarong.
Karachi or Lahore?
Lahore.
Interesting. Chicken biryani or coconut dal?
Chicken biryani.
Okay. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay. Mountains or beach?
Beach.
I agree. Cricket or volleyball?
Cricket.
Malinga or Jayasuriya?
Jayasuriya.
Colombo or Gaul?
Gaul.
Coconut juice or lassi?
Coconut juice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bollywood or Lollywood?
Hollywood.
Oh. Okay. Mangoes or jackfruit?
I love mangoes.
Yeah?
I love jackfruit.
Okay, both. The best thing about Pakistan?
Hospitality of the people.
Great.
And the leader of the country, Imran Khan. That's a great, lovely feeling in Sri Lanka, because when I came here to assume duties, they all wished me, saying that you are going to Pakistan at a time the most acclaimed or the admired sports legend is the head of the state.
That's very true. So now it's finally time for the last segment of our show, where I always ask my guests to sign our visitor's book. So please. So let's see what you wrote. It is all my pleasure to be part of Indus News, which has grown to be equivalent of any other international TV channel within a short span of time. Great, thank you. And then the missus. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to appear on this TV show. It is my first show. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for preparing this amazing food. Thank you so much.
It's all pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's it for today. Please join me again next week. Goodbye.